Hello traders, welcome to our daily webinar, real-time daily trading ideas, 5 days a week, 5 different traders. We will speak about trading ideas, strategies, market screening, and if you have some questions in the live webinar, quick and smart, 15 to 20 minutes is our goal. We will try to answer the questions directly in the webinar. My name is Jens, but I'm not the main speaker. I'm just making the info like I'm doing right now. Welcome to our daily webinar. Before we start, like with any webinar and video with Admiral Markets, let's start with a risk disclaimer. Forex and CFDs are leveraged products and can result in losses that exceed your deposits. Before you start with live trading, please start with a demo first. Make you familiar with the trading, and if you feel good after a while, then let's start with a live account. If you like to see the full risk disclaimer with all risk, what is possible with trading leveraged instruments, just visit one of our web pages like admiralmarketsglobal.com or also admiralmarkets.com, and you will find the full risk disclaimer there. Yeah, this is me, my English, made in Germany. Maybe you hear my German accent, but hopefully also some of my quality is made in Germany too. But again, I'm not the main speaker. The main speakers are our 5-day traders. This is our scheme for the typical week. Monday is Jay's day, Tuesday it's Paul's day, Wednesday it's Mike's day, Thursday it's Nenad's day, and like today, Friday it's Dirk's day. Today's actions are tomorrow's results. So let's see what is the trading idea of the day. And of course, if you like to trade with Admiral Markets, Forex and CFDs, you will have many benefits. What you will find in this way only at Admiral Markets. For example, MetaTrader 5 and MetaTrader 4 Supreme, our boosting, our tuning for the MetaTrader. MetaTrader is great and nice. We love MetaTrader, but you can get a lot of free add-ons what make your trading experience much better, what you maybe also will see in our daily webinars. Let's check it out a little bit later, and if you will try it on your own, the MetaTrader Supreme Edition is available in MT4, MT5, and demo and real accounts. So even in demo account, you can try it out. Just download it via admiralmarkets.com if you like. Of course, also a little bit about our regulation. Admiral Markets UK is regulated by the UK Financial Conduct Authority. And if you like to contact us by phone, by email, it is possible, and also YouTube and Facebook you can visit. The live webinars will be recorded, and a couple of hours later you will find them in our YouTube channel. So that's enough from my side, and now let's welcome Dirk. Hi, welcome Dirk. Good morning or good day. What is the trading idea of today?
Yes, good morning, Jens. I'm not sure if I pressed the screen already. Yeah, there's the button. Okay, hopefully you can see the screen right now. And hopefully my voice is clear, the sound is okay. So let's start with just a short view on the German DAX, which is really flying. The DAX is like a lady, we always say. She's really flying up to the 12,345ers and even the 12,400 targets. So let's see what we are up to with this kind of short setup right now. And why we opened it, and this is a current trade setup from the short side, placed at here, as you can see, at 13,235 with a stop loss of 20 points only, and with no take profit right now because we will like to do it manually. So if we just have a little bit more screen and just close that one to the side, we will have a view on the daily pivots right now here. R1, R2, R3. If you are not able to see them, you may view them via the navigator and may introduce them via your tools. Right here, you got the stuff like the Admiral calendars, stanchions, and you will find the Admiral pivot right here. You will just double click and enter it into the platform. So what we're up to with this short, and where could the market be heading to? The only thing is we will have a short view on the 1 hour chart. And we'll have to see the last high. The last high, record high, was at 13,095ers. And let's have a look at the last setups right here, for example. This is one of the Fibonacci systems we may have a look on. So we have this 161.8, and on top of that, if you just go to the upside, you got some targets, of course, for the bulls as well. With this kind of Fibonacci tools, you got target from 13,325. So the target for this short position might be the 161.8 here, right, at the levels around 13,170. But be sure, if this market is moving down with a little bit of 10 or 20 points, you're about to secure the half of the position, so you might close a half. So in that case, it means you are closing one lot, and you are leaving the rest of the position, the rest, so one lot into with a stop loss on the entry, so behind costs normally. So that means right now, if you are placing a stop loss later on, you're placing it directly to 13,235, for example. So let's have a look how this setup will work the next 5 or 10 minutes. The other markets we will screen as well, of course. Right now, there's some interesting setup in the Kiwi. So that's the pair is called Kiwi here, the New Zealand dollar versus the dollar. And for example, you can have a look at the daily chart. And if you go back to really back to this kind of May 2017, and directly it's the 11th of May 2017. As you can see, we got a low at 0.6817. So if you just mark that one with a horizontal line, right, this, and of course you can see this daily low here right now is already testing that one. On top of that, there are some indicators like relative strength index, so-called RSI. Usually you got a setup with a 30-70, so 20 is oversold, 80 is overbought. So the usual setup is 30 and 70, but if you just put it up to the 20-80 scenario, it gives you a little bit more clear scenarios, from my opinion. So right now we are just touching the bottom. We are touching that around oversold area, and that really makes sense a little bit to think about a so-called reversal trade, so-called a long scenario right here. So all we do is just we think about where to place the stop loss. So I might delete that one here. And if you just have a look at the Fibonacci's as well, you will go to the last setup, so the last low, to the last high. And just to have a look at the next Fibonacci is down there, so the so-called projections to the downside, which may give you a hint where you could place, you probably could place your stop losses, for example. This is the daily setup. Of course, you can do that with the shorter time frame, deleting that one, leaving that line here, and you might be doing that one from the last low here to this last high. Just make it more visible, maybe. You see that one is the low of 0.7131, and you see the last high is a little spike area here with 0.7433.7. So if you look at this or this kind of projections right here, you get projections 138.2 and 161.8. So actually this 138.2 projection right here is a so-called scenario where you could put the long setup here, and you would place your stop loss to your entry zone right into the direction to the upside when it is possibly scratching or nearing the 161.8 level, and your take profit scenario should be something around the 138.2. If you just make it a little bit more visible for you, you just go sub the 0.70 level. So it might be something at 0.6995 or 0.6998. Somehow to type it in into your into your take profit window. So that's one advice only. It's only something like a setup advice. It's not directly advice to invest. So always remind, as Jens always introduces, it's execution only. So if you're not sure about that, don't trade it. Okay, so that's the thing. For example, we do with a so-called scenario with that setup. So we might enter, and of course, if it's something like the Forex markets could be compared with a very fast car. You maybe have something like 550 horsepower, and you might be running the German Autobahn with 250 kilometers an hour, or even more. But you don't have to. You're even able to drive something like 100 or 130. That might be boring, yeah, if you're, for example, using a Ferrari or stuff like that. but sometimes it might be useful because it's avoiding a crash or whatever. So that's the same thing with trading with smaller lot sizes and thinking about risk and money management, stuff like that. So it should be a position size which really fits to your account size. So don't overdo. That's the only thing I wanted to tell you with that kind of story. Don't overdo. And if one trade setup possibly really sucks after a few minutes or a couple of minutes or even 1 hour, you're really relaxed because you know you had a perfect setup. Your risk wasn't too high. You didn't overdo. You didn't do something like that, and it just fits to your account size. So the stop loss might be placed, as I said, at the 067.75, for example, and the take profit, as I told you right here in that scenario, might be the 069.95, for example. And of course, you are able to do that right now. On top of that, you're able to do that via a pending order as well. So you're placing your entry, for example, you're just looking for a perfect entry, and you're placing your entry like you're ordering a coffee for $2.50 or for €2.50, and you're just naming the price exactly. That case right now here, we're just buying it with a volume of 2 mini lots and just placing the order. As you can see, it is already visible in the platform. So you got the entry zone right here, and you got a stop loss level right here. And if you just drag your mouse, for example, put it on the red line, you will see it even tells you your risk. So that possibly is a little bit like an indicator for you if you don't want to calculate it or use tools like that. You always see it with that red line here. You see a risk. If you're maybe right now are afraid the risk is even too high or the risk is way too low, and you could possibly move the stop loss more to the downside, or you could possibly higher the amounts of the lot sizes, no problem. You can do stuff like that. For example, this kind of the two lots is way too high. You can, for example, if you have a smaller account, you can do it with the mini lots I advised you to do. So, for example, okay, that was the New Zealand dollar. Where's the US dollar? So let's have a look what happened at the Euro US dollar. Going to that one. And looking directly into this blue zone, because we did that the last time, going on to the daily, and maybe just widening that one. You got the last level here that was 116.62, and this one did overshoot right now to the downside, so that broke. If you just have a setup with a Fibonacci as well, you will see that last low here to that last high right here, and you can possibly see where your targets for the so-called short side is, or short side are. So that one is the 138.2, and that one, the next one, the 160.18, is the level of 115.40. So if you're still short, or if you're about to go short into the next minutes, you possibly have targets like 115.88, for example, here, of 115.40, something around that, something around those two Fibonacci projections. Thing is, next week we're gonna have the Federal Reserve deciding about the next target rate. Let's say it that way. If you are able to use Google is very useful. Just type in Fed Watch tool, and you will see a tool from the CME Group. So the CME Group is the biggest futures market of the world. That one is based in Chicago, as the Chicago Mercantile Exchange names already tells you. For example, you got to see the Fed Watch tool with the November. So 1st of November is the FOMC, the Federal Rate Decision, next week on Wednesday. This time 19 CET, because of the new time right now, the winter time. And you will see about probabilities, about target rate probabilities at the 1st of November Fed meeting. And that one tells you there is a chance of 98.5% that the rate won't change. So that probably gives you a hint that nothing will happen talking about the rate. If you move that one to the 13th of December, so the next one, the next Fed decision, it shows you there's a probability of 96.7% that the rate will be changing to the upside and that they will hike the rate 25 basis points, or let's better say 0.25%. So this is the only reason I'm just talking about that probabilities right now, because next week on Wednesday we don't have a press conference after the Federal Reserve, and usually it's that way. You're not hiking and you're not changing the current rate environment when there is no press conference where you're able to maybe describe the audience or the market participants what is going to happen next. So that might be something like a hint as well, that there won't be any change. So between those two, the ECB and the Fed right now, we are currently in between. It could be a danger zone. So there's no reason to say we are simply only short. It might be useful to maybe wait for a next little relief. So for example, you got yesterday's ECB candle. Let's do that with a 1 hour chart and squeeze that a little bit. And you see, for example, in the objects list, let's just delete the FIBO as well, because that kind of lines are just annoying right now. And you might see from the level, from the upside, and from the ECB decision, you have the possibility to use the FIBO just to calculate the percentages. It's not a correct move. 26 from the hours. Let's see what time it was. We had the time at 22. That was too late. So that was the ECB meeting. When was the press conference? At that time, around that time, 16. Could be around that time. There's the big one, the big candle stuff like here. So these are the two candles between the ECB decision. And just to take this as a little kind of measure tool to see where so-called relief movement might be heading, it could be possible that we are going back into this 117.30 stuff. So that's the only reason I used it, just to measure the percentages. So a relief could be heading into this 117 to 170.30s, and that might be a useful tool where you, for example, use the next short setup. So the setup for a Euro-US dollar should be, and it should be in the next days and month, it should be always being short when you're waiting on a relief up to the upside, because just thinking about the interest rate differentials, that is what drives the forex markets and the forex pairs. That's the most important thing. If you see there is a target rate and they're going to be raising the rates, you might be sure that Euro-US dollar might be only really having a relief rally to the 1730s, and then going back to down under. So you might be doing that one, of course, just to having an example. That's not a trade setup right now, just to having the example. You might be doing that with a pending order as well, and having the sell limit, using the euro amounts of the sizes. For example, I leave that at the 20 mini lots, and you might do that with a stop loss at the 117.50s or 117.60s. And of course, to the downside, we already had a look at this levels at 115.40, for example. You get the sell limit and having a price to step in with a short at 117.25, for example. So you got a stop loss level between 117.25 to 117.60. So to have it really clear, place it. And the setup right now is active. And as long as it is active, you might be checking it from time to time. That means from today's perspective, checking it before the US market opens. And if it's not really going into that direction, just delete it. Okay, talking about last week's webinars, of course, I had been out. I had been flying out to Spain. So that was 1 week before we had a really good setup for the German DAX, which is right now still running at these levels. We already went in. Where's the DAX? So you see that setup is still wallet is still into the right direction. So let's have a 10-minute or 20-minute time frame to just watch that trade setup, and if it's not working and if it's running back into the negative territory, you just might be deleting it as well and trying it at the next setup I told you. So the last 2 weeks, so 2 weeks ago we had this really nice setup from the DAX. If you might watch it on YouTube as well, you get the stuff at the 1370 to 13130s. So that was the stop loss scenario, as I remember, and that one worked out quite well. If you don't believe, just check the YouTube video. It was a quite nice setup. Okay, so that's 11:21 right now, Jens. I don't want to overdo. If there are some questions, or maybe there's a special market someone is asking.
Oh, the questions we answered directly. There was some questions about DAX, what we talked about, so everything is fine, and the goal is 15 to 20 minutes. So how we see in the last days, volatility is not only cryptocurrencies like Bitcoins, also now a little bit volatility and great moves coming back to DAX. DAX 30 CFD is one of our bestseller. It's not only about the great spreads. Do the math, I guess 0.8 spread typically to the main trading hours you will find nowhere else without any commission additional. So if you like to trade not only Forex from time to time, also index like DAX 30, just take a look, and some setups and trading ideas we are talking about today. And next week, 5 days a week, 5 different traders, 5 different styles. So looking forward to see you next week again, every day if you like, if your time allows it, we will be available. Thanks for now. Have a nice Friday. Have a nice weekend soon, and all the time good trades. Greetings from Berlin. Bye bye.